Parliament and Canadians who wanted to protect democracy in December 2008. It was an unprecedented feeling of grief to stand in front of these buildings and know the doors were bolted against the members of Parliament who'd been elected to serve there. It felt shocking. It felt like a violation of who we are as a people. And I never imagined in December 2008 that we would stand here together, because in the dying days of December 2009, Mr. Harper would do it again and shut down Parliament and shut down democracy. And with what excuse this time? Last time he held up the great threat to democracy. You remember that threat? It was called cooperation. Oh, no, not cooperation. That was the excuse for bolting the doors of Parliament within days of an election. When I wrote my last book, I searched and I researched to find if there was any precedent in a Westminster parliamentary democracy of a Prime Minister shutting down Parliament within days of an election to avoid a confidence vote he knew he would lose. I could find no precedent. Now, I must tell you, after the book came out, I just want to correct the record, because after the book came out, I found out the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka tried it once, but the Governor General said no. This time, Mr. Harper chose to shut down Parliament with the flimsiest of unbelievable excuses, which he didn't have the decency to proffer himself. He figured while we still had leftover turkey in the fridge and we hadn't yet celebrated New Year's Eve, Canadians wouldn't notice. We're far too comfortable to care about democracy. We're busy. So he sent Dimitri Sudas out, his press secretary, whom I'd last seen eviscerating environmentalists in Copenhagen, and his excuse was, we need to recalibrate. Mr. Harper's next excuse was, it might not be good for the markets. Now let me say that the reason they did not bother to come up with a believable excuse is they did not think we'd care. They did not think Canadians would notice. And they were prepared to dismiss Canadians passionate about democracy as the chattering class. Well, listen to us chatter now, Mr. Harper! That chattering you hear is Canadians talking to each other. And Canadians talking to each other whose voices rise up. Those voices rise up and they form one cry, and it will not be silenced. That cry forms in the word democracy. And we do not allow democracy to be shut down. Tout le monde ensemble, en solidarité. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes ici pour protéger nos démocraties. C'est une démocratie forte au Canada. It's a surprise for Mr. Harper. It's a surprise for some pundits. But we care about this country. We understand that people sacrifice their lives for democracy, and we do not want to be known in the community of international nations as a country where democracy is slipping between our fingers, and we're too busy chasing the Olympic flame to notice. There's another flame that was lit in Greece, and that's the flame of democracy. And you cannot silence our voices, Mr. Harper. You cannot douse that centennial flame. You cannot shut down the voice and the will of Canadians united to restore real democracy to this country. Proportional representation, real democracy.